Hey everyone, welcome back. This episode is part of the Real Life Answers with Tarot series, and today I want to talk about something I see constantly in readings, and honestly, something I think most of us experience in our everyday lives, including myself. The topic is how to recognize when you're avoiding decisions and not just confused. Welcome to the Enchanted Empath podcast. This is a space for sensitive souls seeking deeper clarity, intuition, and connection. I'm so glad you're here. Each week, we'll explore spiritual growth, energetic healing, intuition, and the deeper wisdom already living within you so you can trust yourself more fully and walk your path with greater peace and purpose. I'll see you inside. And I want to be really honest about what I've noticed. People come into readings and they'll say something like, I'm confused, I don't know what to do, I've thought about this from every angle, I've pulled cards, I've journaled, I've talked about it, and I still don't feel any clearer. And I always listen closely to that because what I usually find underneath all that is something a little different. It's not usually confusion. It's more often that the person already knows, but they're not ready to make any choices yet. And these two experiences can feel very similar on the surface, but internally they're completely different. So let's talk about that. So confusion feels passive. It feels like something outside of you that hasn't resolved yet. Like clarity is going to arrive if you just give it more time or gather one more piece of information or get one more sign. It feels like eventually, if you wait long enough, something will click into place, much like the Hanged Man in the tarot deck. But avoidance is very different. Avoidance is active, it's a choice. And even though it doesn't always look or feel that way, but it is that quiet decision to stay where you are because moving forward comes with consequences. And maybe those consequences aren't something that you're ready to face, and a part of you already knows that. So instead of choosing, you start analyzing. You revisit the same thoughts, you ask the same questions in slightly different ways. You look for a clearer sign or a stronger feeling. You're looking for certainty. And it's not because you don't know, but because you do know. And it feels complicated or scary to act on it. And in my experience, what people call confusion usually falls into a few different patterns. And the first pattern I see is fear, the fear of consequences. You already have an inner sense of what you want to do, but you're also fully aware of what that would mean. If you leave something, something ends. If you stay, something continues that maybe doesn't feel good anymore. If you speak honestly, a relationship or a dynamic might shift in a way that you just can't control. So instead of stepping into that unknown, the mind keeps circling and circling and circling because thinking feels safer than choosing. And sometimes it's the expectation that clarity should feel certain. A lot of people imagine that intuition is supposed to feel like a lightning bolt moment or a burning bush, something loud and undeniable, and something that removes all doubt instantly like magic. But real intuition is often much more quiet than that. It tends to feel simple, steady, even a little underwhelming at times. And because it doesn't always feel so dramatic, we dismiss it and keep searching for something that feels more convincing. And sometimes it's about outsourcing authority. This is where people start going back to tarot repeatedly, or asking different people the same question, or looking for one piece of advice that will finally make everything feel safe enough to act on and complete. But the truth is, no external answer can replace an internal decision. And at some point, you have to choose, not because you feel completely certain, but because you trust yourself enough to move. And there's a tarot pattern that illustrates this really clearly, and it's the energy of the Seven of Cups. If you're not familiar with the Seven of Cups, there's a man standing in front of these seven cups that are floating in the sky that are full of all kinds of different things, and he's overwhelmed and there's clouds everywhere. indicating like chaos and confusion. And so this card often gets described as that chaotic confusion. But I don't think that's quite accurate. It's not confusion in the sense of having no idea what's going on. It's more like having too many imagined possibilities all at once, too many directions, too many emotional projections of what could happen. And instead of grounding into one reality, you stay in the space of possibilities. You think through every single outcome. You imagine every version of how it could go, and you end up circling instead of choosing. I sometimes call this kind of Hamlet energy that says, he who hesitates is lost. It's that sense of hesitation where you're not unaware, you're just suspended in thought. And over time, that hesitation becomes its own pattern. And therein lies a problem, right? Now, of course, I come bearing a solution. Feeling stuck, uncertain, or disconnected from yourself? A personal intuitive reading can help you reconnect with your inner knowing and receive the guidance you've been searching for. Together, we'll explore the energy surrounding your relationships, your purpose, next steps, and soul path so you can move forward with greater clarity, confidence, and peace. To book your session, visit my website, charlenemurphy.com, or click the link in the show notes. The shift out of that energy is represented really clearly by the Ace of Swords. And what's important to understand about this tarot card is that it's not about an answer magically arriving from outside. It's about the moment you tell yourself the truth. It's the point where something becomes honest enough, simple enough, and clear enough that you can actually act on it. And sometimes we just need that time to get there, right? Not because everything is perfect or guaranteed, but because something just finally feels right. Something clicks within you. And that's really the movement from confusion to clarity. It's not more information, it's not another sign, and it's not waiting for certainty. It's actually honesty, followed by a choice. So if you find yourself in that space, one of the most helpful things you can do is to change the question you're asking. So instead of asking, what should I do, which can be disempowering, try asking, if I had to choose today, what would I choose? Not what feels easiest, not what creates the least disruption, but what feels most true when you remove the pressure of waiting for certainty or something else to happen, right? Another little trick is to imagine your best friend or someone you deeply love was coming to you with the exact situation. Imagine they were telling you the whole story and asking for your honest advice. Now, most of the time, you would be able to see the truth almost immediately for them. You would recognize what they already know. You would also recognize what they're avoiding. And very often, that same wisdom is available to you too, but it gets clouded when you're emotionally inside the situation yourself. So that's where having a tarot reading or another professional healer or therapist can help you see things clearly, right? So sometimes creating that little bit of distance helps you hear your own inner knowing more clearly. Because deep down, most people already sense the direction they want to move in. And that's what's causing the friction in the first place, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't have a problem or feel confused. They are in resistance within themselves. So the hard part isn't knowing. The hard part is accepting what the knowing requires of you. And the nice thing is, you don't have to act immediately on the answer, but you do need to be honest about it. And one thing I always find important to say here is that indecision is not neutral. It's still a choice. It keeps you in the same place. It reinforces the same pattern. And it often creates that very stuck feeling people are trying to escape, right? We've all felt that. So I want to leave you with this. You're probably not as confused as you think you are. You're standing at a threshold. And thresholds are not meant to be analyzed forever, but they're meant to be crossed. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, trust what you feel, honor what you know, and stay enchanted.